It's not until we understand where we come from that we can connect the humanity piece for me. I think that when I can connect my history and realize where I come from and how far I've come is when I can connect humanly to who I am. Once I know who I am, that helps me to understand what I'm called to do. It's very important to the college community, to us as faculty or staff or students, definitely our students, for them to be able to connect, who they are as humans so that they can understand their calling and understand their vocation. Because it's not until I connect with me and find out who I am that I can determine what my calling is and what my vocation is. So this being able to see my history definitely helps me to understand what I'm called to do and what my vocation is.
Dehumanizing people is a way for people to do such grotesque things to humans. I feel as though people have a moral conscience, but in order for them to fight off that natural instinct, they have to dehumanize something, which is something I never heard of or thought of. But being in the museum and seeing how the African Americans were treated and how they are still being treated horribly, and how that skews from not treating them with the same human rights as other people should be entitled to, was very shocking.
The most poignant kind of experience that I was able to experience on this trip was the lynching memorial. I think it's so hard to look, and especially when you're at the bottom of the memorial and you just see all of the monuments with, names covering them of people that were just senselessly killed. It's just so hard to deny, and then to realize how recent all of it was. We look at stuff like the Holocaust and we think, oh my gosh, that's awful, those people didn't do anything. We did the same exact thing, and we minimize it, and we don't talk about it as much as we talk about World War II or who knows what else, other atrocities that have occurred in history that other countries committed, because it's easier to talk about other people's wrongdoings. It's a lot harder to admit we did something terrible, and these are the awful, awful mistakes that we've made, and this is how we need to change things. There were people at the memorial who were looking for family members and found family members' names on the monuments. That's really recent. This stuff happened within people's lifetimes.
Ending the trip in that way on something very relational, with a chance to talk and interact and eat with people whose life was still lived in this important civil rights site, whose faith was still deeply tied to civil rights, not just because of who they were, but because of this building and this city that they worshipped in, was something that was immensely powerful as a way to wrap up the field trip.
After this trip was over, we all got together and we decided to have a group reflection. And during that reflection, there were so many people who have had experiences that I could never imagine just looking at them. You get to know them on a deeper level, and you get to know how much racism and everything that African Americans and people of all races have been through, including myself.
through those experiences, we provided our students an experience or a time where they could begin to put together their understanding of the context of their own history as Americans, and their understanding of the effect of racial injustice and practices from 200 years ago until current situations now with incarceration. And that step forward into being able to demonstrate how these historical events have a direct bearing on how they read and understand our society today. I think it's just a profound expression of the good of what both the Foundations and Core program is seeking, and what we as a liberal arts college are seeking to enable our students to be able to do.